Hello guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Charity Wanyoni and today I'm wearing my digital content strategist hat from my brand Charity Haven Digital, and we're continuing with our Canva series. Guys, I want to be a Canvassador, so I have applied for it. So any digital content you'll see on this YouTube platform would be all about Canva. Your girl has to work, yes. So today you're going to look at why Canva is one of the most best tool professional in this digital era. And I'm not saying this because I'm not getting paid, guys. This is not sponsored. This is just my own experience with Canva because it has been my digital software aid since I started this journey 3.5 years ago. I taught myself how to use Canva and I'm still teaching myself how to use Canva. So I'm not canvassing or selling. This is just my own experience for especially a beginner who wants to get into the digital space. Yeah. So you're going to look at the shift towards visual communication. So let me start with this simple conversation. If you scroll through LinkedIn, Instagram, and even WhatsApp, especially if you have WhatsApp business, today you'll notice something interesting. People rarely stop for long paragraphs. Just look at those long copy pasted or forwarded messages. Do you guys read them? Leave them in the comment section if you truly read them or not. But if someone posts an image that has something, not necessarily made from Canva, but just an image, what will people so people will click on that image and they will look at the visual, a diagram, an image of yourself. If you're in a WhatsApp group, an infographic that has information, or a poster, or to have just carousels like I make that I post, especially in these professional WhatsApp groups. So you'll find that if you post an image and you post a long text, tell me which one does better. So the question professionals should ask themselves today is not just do I have the knowledge, but also can I communicate that knowledge clearly in a digital space. And that is where tools like Canva, there's Adobe, there are so many of them with Canva. So for me, Canva has become a very powerful tool because it has made my visual communication accessible to people without design training. Like I said, I taught myself how to use Canva. And right now, I can feel comfortable to translate knowledge into visual, easy to understand infographics or captions or quotes that can be able to help people in this fast scrolling digital environment so that I can capture their attention more effectively than having long texts. So we're going to look at the visibility challenge for professionals. So one thing I have noticed when working with professionals, especially in fields like nutrition, of course I'm in the nutrition field, healthcare, and also education, is many people have deep knowledge. Like when you interact with your peers and you attend webinars, you attend these talks, you have this live discussion, people have deep knowledge, but very few people know how to translate that knowledge into something people can quickly understand online. That is where there's just a massive spread of misinformation, because some of us in the academic field, in the professional training field, we don't have that digital communication skill. And to be honest, when I was still in campus uni days, there was never a course about digital communication skills. It was just communication, and I feel like in that communication it was just mentioned. There was no detailed course that can teach you how to communicate online effectively. So you may have read research papers, you might have years of experience, but if your insights remain inside your notebook, your lecture note, lecture slides, and your clinical conversation, the impact is small. So digital tools help bridge that gap and that visibility challenge, like I'm doing with my digital content creation series on LinkedIn. Please connect, follow me, Charity Wanyonyi. That's a very interesting series because I'm also learning in the process. So Canva is one of the simplest way to do that. Like I said, there are so many other visual apps if you're comfortable with them, but for me, I'm comfortable with Canva, which is helping me bridge that gap between my expertise, my experience, and visibility. So we're going to look at why Canva changed the digital design landscape. So now, before, like, we had these interfaces like Canva, Adobe, PixArt. There are so many of them. I've forgotten them with very hard names. Design was very intimidating, Um, so you needed software like I said, Photoshop, tumetoka mbali, and illustrators to simplify that. And if you ever open those programs as a beginner, can feel like you're entering like a strange universe if you're not really okay. You remember the first day you entered that clinic room or that ward, and you're now thrown into the practical aspect. You felt so lost. So sometimes even Canva, when you open it the first time, you can feel so lost. But what Canva has done, it has structured templates that allow professionals like me and you to focus on ideas instead of decisions. Like Canva has so many templates. Like when you follow my practical Canva episode, you can see how I easily drag and drop. Like I have my ideas on Word, I can drag and drop it. If I have it in another paper, I can drag and drop it and now simplify it, in those structures templates people already make. I also make my own templates because I like just doing things by myself. So I don't focus on the layout that much. I focus on how I'm going to translate this complex idea into easy to understand, copy and paste. So Canva platform has typography, colors, icons, and imagery in one work. I will leave a screenshot of how Canva looks like, but if not, go look at in my Canva playlist. I have taken you through the Canva interface so that you know how easy it is to work in your own workplace. And if you follow me, I really advocate for that. So there are not too many buttons, not too many menus, not too many. You're clicking this, is taking you there, and you just get confused when it comes to that. So it removes the technical barrier so that you can focus on the idea you want to communicate. And this shift democratize design and allow professionals to create visual content independently without now using the visual that is already there. For me, when I see a template that I like, I go and delete everything, and I now add my own words and make it my own because I like it and I like it to be my own. So that's why I love to play around with Canva, because it's so easy. So we're going to look at now why it is changing the digital space for us professionals. So one, Canva is an educational tool. If you follow me, I really use Canva a lot. It helps me come up with infographics. There's an episode where I took you guys through infographics and how to make it, because it allows you to simplify complex health and research concepts. So let's say like you want to explain something like how blood glucose regulation works. You can write a long paragraph in explaining insulin response and glucose metabolism, or you can just create 3 simple steps in infographic. Food enters the body, blood sugar rises, insulin helps regulate the glucose. So when you post this type of content, it becomes clearer to someone who does not want to read the sciencey bits of it. Step-to-step guides help improve the understanding of processes and framework. Educational carousels break down large topics into digestible segments, like I said. Visual diagram help audiences grasp relationship between concepts. So Canva has enabled professionals to transform knowledge into accessible learning materials. Visual just don't decorate information, it clarifies it. So we're going to look at Canva for professional positioning, and this is what season 4 of my digital content creation series is all about. So let me give you an example. If someone asks you to give a talk, host, or a webinar, or train a group, What do you need? You need slides. I know most of you say PowerPoint office work already has, but for me I feel like it's quite limiting because I can't add images the way I like. And instead of spending hours trying to make PowerPoints look professional, Canva provides structured slides and design immediately. And most of the time, for me, it has really helped with my presentations like this. I have my logo, I have a template that match my logo and my colors, brand colors. Yes. So Canva can also help you come up with visual portfolios. Thank you guys. You really liked that video I talked about portfolios, and I know some of you implemented and you told me yes, and I'm happy that these episodes are helping you guys. Can help you make educational handout or resource guide, especially if you have your own clinic running. If you want me to have a workshop, maybe a free or a paid, I'm not sure, about just coming up with these nutrition resources and guides, I can be able to take you through it, because I don't feel like I want to do it for free, because it takes a lot of work to come up with those handouts and guides. So visual framework to help communicate professional and professionally, like clearly, like someone knows this is what you do. It really shows how professional you are. And then if you have a consistent design, I feel like it strengthens credibility and authority. Because for me, when I logged in to LinkedIn and I see this, I know this is from a certain person, because this is the way they consistently design their work. So we're going to look at Canva for thought leadership. So thought leadership is not just about having opinion, it's about helping people understand ideas clearly. So for example, imagine you've developed a framework for managing burnout. Instead of writing 5 paragraphs explaining it, you could design a visual model, maybe say something like 3 pillars of a sustainable work. When people see structured ideas visually, they remember them better. Remember the cognitive process we talked about in the first slide. Think about that. When and this sometimes this is something Canva makes incredibly easy. Because if I have a research inside, I can just go and look at an infographic or something that has simplified the numbers, and then I input my numbers and I can clearly show the research insights so people can understand. Educational visuals, I feel like it makes professional perspective easier, so it will separate you from those misinformational quacks online. And I feel like these days we are leading and leaning more towards visual storytelling. So if you have a carousel, for me, I love those carousels that show how people grow. Like in 2016, this is how I started. In 2017, I love storytelling because it inspires people to do more. And if you are explaining, let's say, like I said, the blood glucose, and you have a carousel that shows how food is eaten, pancreas in the beta cells releasing insulin doing its thing and regulating the sugars. And then this, when you have uncontrolled sugars, you have a visual that shows. Me as a layman, when I see that, I would be able to understand rather than reading those long posts. So consistent visual communication builds recognizable professional identity. So we're going to look at Canva as a content system tool. Me, I'm all about having systems, because in my Canva, I will show you one day, I have templates, I have folders, I've labeled, I'm very I have folders and I've labeled them. If this is for charity, Heaven Digital; for charity, Safe Haven; for my YouTube, my 2 YouTube channels, for my Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and all the other pages I'm managing. I have folders for each and I've labeled them. So those folders have reusable templates and structures, design structures that help me drag and drop. Like when I have content and I want to post, I know Mondays for this, I will drag and drop on that template, and it helps me save time. The brand kit, I have a brand kit because for me, I've paid for Canva Pro. It has my consistent colors, fonts, and visual identity. So my work is just to drag and drop, drag and drop. It will do everything for you. I batch create in those folders. So I know this is the content for Monday, this is for Tuesday. So when I don't post on the go, I just download and schedule them. Batch creation is very, very easy. You do it in one session and it has helped you plan the whole week. So you don't have to think that mental effort that what will I do? I have to go and look for a template. I have to do this. No. That's why you see me on my in LinkedIn every day. I have a content post for each day, and each day has its own templates because that is how I want it to go for uniformity. And when you're doing content planning, it becomes easier when visual follow a repeatable format. When you log in and you see this, this is from Charity. So system reduce that stress and that burnout that I normally talk about. So we're going to look at Canva for teaching and training. So, if you're someone who teaches, like sometimes I do, whether online or workshops or in classes, I feel like Canva is very useful. Instead of heavy text, you can design visuals that guide your audience through ideas. For example, if you're explaining the nutrition care process, a simple visual diagram helps people understand the flow immediately. So you start with assessment, diagnosis, intervention, monitoring. So people remember visual sequence much more easily than blocks of text, like we talked about in the cognitive first slide, and also in that live where we talked about how to come up with a good presentation. Yeah, because me ukijaza slides it loses me because I'm like mbona unatuchokesha. Yeah, so I feel like training resources become more engaging when supported by visual, and Canva allows educators to adapt materials for different audiences quickly. Like these slides I used for the training for diabetes, I'm called for another diabetes training, so I would just tweak to match my audience, but I will still use the same. So I don't have to sit down and start thinking about what to do next, and it will save time. So we're going to look at Canva for personal brand development. So another benefit of Canva is that it helps professionals develop visual consistently, and you become recognized across platforms. When people see repeatedly the same colors, font, layout, like when you see yellow with a streak of gold, that is for Charity Haven Digital. Something interesting happens. They become to recognize your work instantly. This is part of building a personal brand. I don't want to dwell on this slide because I have a season where we just talk about personal branding. It's not about making things look fancy, aesthetics. I really struggled with that. And I'm telling myself it's about making my communication recognizable and clear. So I feel like for me, visual consistency supports long-term audience trust. So the choice of font, the choice of color, they just should reflect you as a professional and some part of your personality. That is how I come up with colors for my brand. So we're going to look at common mistakes we make in Canva, overloading designs. I always see some carousels, I'm like, why umetujazia vitu. So it reduces clarity. Using multiple fonts and colors, I feel like it weakens the hierarchy. You have this font, you have Poppins, you have Montserrat, you have DM Sans, you just have different fonts. You have green, you have yellow, you have black. Guys, I feel like people look at that and they're like, "Ooh, did you just post that?" Focusing on aesthetics instead of message, I feel like it dilutes, and that is what I'm getting away from. Ignoring spacing and alignment reduces professional quality. So you've bold. Sometimes I see it when I've posted. You've bolded all the rest, but one letter is not bolded. You're spacing, like kuna zingine zimejisqueeze, kuna zingine ziko wide open. It stresses me. So simplicity and clarity sometimes communicate more effectively rather than looking at the profession. Like something just sometimes just your logo and a white background with black. It communicates more than going and picking a complicated design and then you end up overloading everything. It makes you not look professional. So we're going to look at Canva as a sustainable tool. So one of the reason I love Canva is that it supports sustainable creation. Once you build templates and system, content creation becomes so much easier. You are no longer reinventing every design. You're simply working with what you have within your structure, and that structure protects your time and creative energy. Guys, creative energy is very, very good. So you have reusable templates, you have structured workflow, you have batch creation, you have organized design system, and you have sustainable tools to help you maintain a long-term digital presence. I know these days we have AI that can help you do that, but for me, I'm very creative. I don't let it take that creative side of me. I still create my own posters from scratch. So as we end the episode, I didn't want it to be long, but when it comes to talking about this, I can't help it. So I'll end with this thought: knowledge has very little impact if it remains invisible.